Hey, what's up, guys? It's Steven here, aka the Broke Designer, and I'm back again this week with another awesome video just for you guys. Now, today's video is for people who are completely new or strange to Photoshop. So, whether you're a designer that's been using other software and you want to get started with Photoshop, or you are someone who wants to get into design from scratch and you want to get on board with Photoshop, this is a full-blown tutorial on how to get started with Photoshop, even if you've never come across the interface before. I'll be including a link to download Photoshop in the description of this video, both for Windows users and for Mac users. And even after this video, I'm going to be dropping more free tutorials about this very Photoshop. So make sure you like this video, you subscribe, and you turn on your post notifications so that whenever I post a video, you get to see it first. Now let's get right into the video without wasting time. So the first software we're going to be using for this course is Adobe Photoshop. And depending on the version you're using, the interface might look quite different. For some versions like 2020, they have a bug, so you may see like a blank screen around here, but this menu bar is going to be up here. So on how to get started, you just click on File, click on New, then you'll be met with this interface like this. Now if you want to set up a document or a canvas or a file, these words are going to be used interchangeably: document, file, canvas. This is where you do your design. And for example, if I click create, you're going to see something like this. So this is a blank document or a blank file or blank canvas for us to do our designs in. So like I said, click on file, click on new. So the first things you're going to consider here you have the name of the file you want to work on. I usually don't start with this. This is usually one of the last things I do, but you can just input the name you want. Then next, you're going to have your width and your height. The width and your height. Now, designs have sizes and specifications. They have dimensions. Every design that is done has dimensions, and they have their own units. If I click on where it says pixels, you can see inches, centimeters, millimeters, points. But what you use mostly in design is pixels, inches, then maybe centimeters in a few cases, but mostly pixels and inches, particularly for web designs you're going to be doing for web use. So by default, we set on pixels. You have the width and you have the height. Now what you have here is 1080 by 1080, which is the standard size for social media designs. The standard size for social media design is 1080 by 1080 pixels, not inches. In inches it is 3.6. When you put it on pixels, it's 1080 by 1080 pixels. So if I should click create, you see that it is square. It's equal in height and width, and this is one of the standard size for social media. The second size for social media is 1080 in width, but 1350 in height. That is for the vertical posts that you see like this, or maybe Instagram or Facebook. So those are the two standard sizes for social media. For things like business cards, they are mostly in inches, and the standard size for business cards, I think it's 3.5 in width by 2 inches, and this is a standard business card size, 3.5 by 2 inches. Then you have other saved options here, like you have for photos. See, this one's already preset. For print, you have letter size, legal, tabloid, A4, A6, A5. Like if I click on A4 and I just click create, it will set up the document according to that saved size. But for the ones that are not saved, you have to input it manually from here. So you width, height. Now some of these documents, they vary. If you want to design for banners, billboards, and rest, mostly the person that's going to print will probably tell you the size that they want it in, and you know the size to use. So it's not something you really cramp. And there are some that you can easily just go online, like the business card size. If you go online and just search business card dimensions, all those sizes are going to pop up for you. So that's the width, the height, and the unit for that. The next thing here we're going to cover is resolution. Resolution of an image basically refers to how vivid an image is, how clear an image is. Now let's take for example, let's say we have a picture inside our design. So I'm going to bring in one picture into Photoshop. I'll just click from my folder, drag it over the icon, bring it into the design, then release, press enter so that the picture comes in. Now, resolution basically refers to how clear a picture is. So for this picture that I can see that is quite clear, the resolution is higher compared to all those pictures that once you zoom in a bit, it becomes blurry. And the unit for resolution is pixels per inch, because images are made up of pixels. Pixels are those little boxes you see when you zoom into an image. So if I should zoom into this image, you see these boxes, those are called pixels. So if my resolution is set on 300 pixels per inch, it means that on every inch of this design, there are 300 pixels. And pixels are like puzzle pieces. When you join these pixels together, then you make up an image. So the more pixels you have, the more vivid an image is. So if I have 300 pixels in every inch of a design, it is going to be much clearer than an image that has only maybe 20 pixels in every inch, or even 100 pixels in every inch. One has 300 pixels in an inch, the other has 72 pixels in an inch. One obviously is going to be clearer. And the convention, or by default, when you are designing for print, files that are going to be printed, you should use 300 pixels per inch, because you know our computer screens are smaller compared to some of these files. When they print them out, they're going to be much larger. I don't want it to lose quality, so they'll just tell you 300 pixels per inch. But for web use, the standard is 72. There's files you're going to be sharing online, 72 pixels per inch. That is the standard. But I always advise, whether web, whether print, just use 300 to be on the safe side, because we share files, software or apps like WhatsApp and the rest always reduce image quality. So you don't want to design with 72 pixels, then when you share after a while, the quality has dropped so much. So preferably always use 300. Now the next is our color mode. There are two major color modes we are going to use here, which is RGB and CMYK. RGB stands for red, green and blue, and CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow and black. K is for black. Now those are the two color modes primarily used in design. Now, just like we refer to our color wheel, we have warm colors, we have cool colors. Now, in color systems, we have primary colors, we have secondary colors, just like we thought. Now, every color you want to produce or get in this life can be gotten from red, green, and blue. Depending on the ratio in which you combine them, you can get any color from a combination of red, green, and blue in particular ratios. Same thing goes with CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. All of them can give you any color you want. Now, what's the difference between RGB and CMYK? RGB is used for web designs. Designs that want to be shared online, you design in RGB. Designs that want to print are to be designed in CMYK, because our printers that we mostly use are calibrated with CMYK color mode. Our printers are calibrated with CMYK color mode. Those are the inks, those are the color of the inks used to refill this printer. So if you design in RGB and you print, and that printer has CMYK color mode, the compatibility may not match. And at the end, you see that, okay, what you designed is looking kind of different from what was printed out. So when you want to print, always set your color mode to CMYK. But when you want to just do a normal web design, you set on RGB. You can leave this 8-bit the way it is. Background content, white, black, whichever you want as your background. If I set it on black and I click create, that's how my canvas is going to be. But by default, just leave it on white. Then color profile, you can leave every other thing as it is. So we have our width, our height, the unit, the resolution, pixels per inch, the unit for the resolution, color mode, background content. Now I spoke of A4, like this is A4 size. This is A4 size. Now here you have orientation. If I should click orientation, now it's portrait. This is A4 portrait mode. If I should click on landscape, it's going to swap the width and the height. And once I click create, see it's going to be created in a landscape mode. So that's just to take notes. So that's just the basics of setting up your Photoshop document. Okay, so when you are in Photoshop's environment, what we have to take note of is that Photoshop has different kind of workspaces, because it's not only designers that make use of Photoshop. See, photographers also make use of Photoshop, and they have a different workspace arrangement. Those that do illustrative work or painting also have a different workspace arrangement. But by default, when you set up your Photoshop, you're going to have this essentials workspace, essentials default. That is the default workspace. And I like to customize my own workspace, which you can as well, so that I work much better. There's no particular workspace that is ideal for anything. Everybody has their own way, or they prefer to work. For me, the settings I like to use, first I will close this swatch up here because I don't use it. I don't really use it. Right click and close the tab group. Properties, I usually drag my properties, click on it and drag it. I usually click on it, drag it and put it in this middle column here. Then I close this other tab group. I just leave my layers, channels and paths, because primarily I'll be working with my layers on this side. I also add another panel to this side, which is our character panel. And to get that, I will go to type, panels, click character panel, and it's there. Now, another thing is that this show transform controls will probably be off. It's not be ticked, and you need it on. You will have auto select on, and this will be off. So what I want you to do is to switch off auto select and put on your transform controls. Even if it's not showing this show transform controls, you see a little kind of like a square with some dots around it. Or if you just put your cursor over it like this, don't click anything, it will show you that okay, that is transform controls, and you click on it and it will be active. So this is just the default setup I usually use for my own work. So we have a first bar up here called your menu bar. If you click on it, you can see different menu options popping up: image, layer, type, select. The very next one is called the options bar. It's called the options bar, and this is called the options bar because it changes according to whatever tool we select. By the way, I expanded my toolbar by clicking this arrow, so you can push it like this or expand it. So depending on the tool we select, the options here will change according to that tool. So the first one is just our move tool. I see the options for the move tool. Next, down here we have what we call our tabs, just like we have browser tabs. If we click on file, new, and I create new document setup, create a third one, something like this, you can see that these are different tabs, so you can work on different designs simultaneously, just like how we browse different pages simultaneously. So let's just close this too and work with just this one. So that's our tab on that side. Then of course the toolbar, just like I mentioned, with our various tools which we'll go over individually. That's the ones we are concerned with. Here we have our panels over here, can be expanded as well, but we don't need to expand it, we need enough space. Then we have here our layers panel, so this is properties panel, just like we did the character panel. Then the layers panel over here, those are the basic features that we are going to work with in this window of Photoshop. So the very first tool we are going to cover here will be our text tool. That's the very first tool. I can see that the options here are fit according to the text tool. So if I want to type, I will click, then type hello. Click type hello, and I can click to save that. And according to our options bar for the text tool, the first one is the font, which I can change the hello text to whichever font I want. You can see there are different fonts here. So that's the first option for the font or the typeface. The very next one is the font weight, the weight of the font. Currently it is set on regular. It starts from thin and goes all the way to black. Black is usually the thickest form of any font. So there's semi bold and there's bold. This will come into play when, just like in the section where we discuss about hierarchy and contrast in text, when you want to emphasize hierarchy or contrast, you play around with this font weight a lot. The very next is font size. So you can click and select different font sizes that you want. You can also type in a custom font size. If I just type like 100, press enter, you see, go back to any other font I want. Then next we have our text alignment. You can just keep this one, it's not important. So these options we have here is text alignment. If you have been working with Microsoft Word, you know what text alignment is. So to emphasize that better, let's reduce it to like size 16. So I'll type hello, my name is, then I'll press enter to go to the next line. To break the line, press enter, then I'll type Steven Lawani. Follow. Let me add my full name. Alright. Then I'll press OK to see what I've done. So just like I said again, you can change the font, change the weight. And one thing you should notice or take note of is that not all fonts have multiple weights. Like see this font called Good Times, it has only one weight. Arial has how many? Just a few. Artist Signature has just one weight. Not all fonts have multiple weights, but fonts like Poppins or Monteras, which we'll be using commonly in the class, have multiple weights over here. So I'll just set this on semi bold or something. So now in terms of alignment, we see that this is currently set to left aligned. If I should click on center, go to my move tool and drag it to the middle, you see that the text is now centrally aligned. Centrally aligned. It means the middle of both lines of this text is aligned. If I go back to my text tool and select the left again, you see that the left side of the text is the one that's aligned. You can use your move tool and drag it back. And the shortcut for your move tool is letter V. And the shortcut for your text tool is T. So you don't need to be clicking every time. So now I am on T. If I click center, click on V to my move tool and I click and drag here, you can see that the center of the text is aligned. Now if I go back to my text tool and I click this one, which is right align text, you see that the right side of the text is aligned. If I go to my move tool, I can drag it and bring it in. See the right side is aligned. That is text alignment. Text alignment. Not to be confused with layer alignment. We'll go over layer alignment soon enough. But that is just text alignment. Now the next tool I want us, so let's delete it. Press delete on your keyboard. Delete that one. So the next tool I want us to cover is the shape tool. Now for your shape tool, just click on it. Now there are various kinds of shapes. Now you can see that any tool you see that has this little box on the, little arrow by the bottom right corner has other tools or other options there. So if I should right click on that tool, you see apart from the rectangle tool, I have rounded rectangle, ellipse, triangle, polygon, line, custom shape. But let's just start with the rectangle tool. And now if you come here to draw a rectangle, you just click and drag and you get a rectangle. You can see that immediately the properties panel opened up because this rectangle has properties. Well, let's click it and close it. Now let's focus on the options bar for now. Now every shape has two major properties, the fill and the stroke. The fill refers to the color inside of the shape. Fill refers to the color inside of the shape. So you can see as I'm clicking, the colors are changing. If the color you want is not here, you can check this side, RGB, CMYK, grayscale. But regardless, where you should focus on is this multicolored box here. If you click on it, it opens this called the color picker. and if you click, you can see you can select different colors. So this panel here, or this straight column here, signifies the color, the exact color you want to use, the hue. So it starts from red down to purples to blues to greens to yellows back to red. This panel here will allow you to select the exact color, while this bigger box here allows you to select the shade or the tint or the tone. Remember, if you go back to color theory, I remember every color in its pure form is the hue. So if I select blue now here, or purple, and I come to this edge, this is the purest form of blue, the original blue here. If I come down here, if I click down here, you can see this becomes a shade of blue because it's closer to this black region. So any color plus black, remember, is a shade. If I come up here, this are now tints of blue. Any color plus white is a tint of that color. While somewhere around the middle, where the black and the white mix, you get tones, because color plus black and white is a tone. So we have pure color, we have shades around here, and we have tint. So with that, you can get different colors that you want. So if I should select green, whether I want normal green, dark green, or light green, it all depends. So I'll click OK and I can select that. So once you create any shape, you have your fill, and you can select from here. If you don't find the color you want here, you can click here and try to identify the color you want. That is for the fill. The very next property is called the stroke. Now, before I emphasize on the stroke, the next one here will be the stroke size, because the stroke size is currently size 1, and that is too small for us to look at. So I'll just click on that stroke size, and you can click and drag the slider, and you can see that the stroke has increased size. So there's the fill, which is the color within, and the stroke is the color around it. So now I can click on this stroke, and the same way we did with the fill, we can select different colors of this stroke. You can see that. And of course, just like I said, the stroke size, and you can just click here and actually type a value of the stroke you want. And the very next one is called the stroke options here. If I click on it, stroke options, the first one is the type of stroke. Is it a straight line stroke? Is it a dashed line stroke? You can see it, a dashed line. Or is it a dotted line stroke? We'll still leave it as our straight line stroke. The next one is called align. If I click on it, there are 3 kinds of stroke alignments. The first one is inside. The stroke will be on the inside, such that if I'm increasing the size, you can see that the stroke is growing inwardly. Go back to my stroke options, click on align. If it's centered, the stroke will be increasing evenly, both inside and outside. And the last one is outside alignment, which the stroke will just be growing outwardly, and that's actually the one I prefer using mostly. Then this is just the stroke width, sorry, the shape width and the shape height. So that is how you draw shapes. Let me delete that. Now let's right click on that shape tool again and go to the ellipse tool. So if I click and I drag, I can get a circle. And the same thing I did up here with your options, you can do with this properties panel here. So same thing, our fill, you can select a fill from here. Stroke, you can select a stroke from here. Stroke size, we can increase the stroke size from here. And the alignment, of course, just like we did in the other one. So you can have multiple shapes. You can draw an ellipse first, right click, draw a rectangle like that, and you have different shapes inside Photoshop. Okay, so next let's go over our move tool and our layers. Move tool and layers are very essential. So let's go to our text tool and type something like welcome to my first design. Add the space here and click OK here. Now the same way we're changing the shape properties from our options and on the panel, the same way we can change our text properties from the options here or this character panel we created earlier. So there are different options here, just like the font, the weight, the size. Now there are new options here that we did not see on the options bar, and one of it is up here called the leading. Leading is the same thing as line height. Now remember we broke this text into two lines by pressing enter, and we have line 1, line 2, but the same body of text. Now this leading is the height between those lines, or the distance between those lines. So if I click on auto, you see to adjust. This is the automatic one. So depending on how we change the size of this text, it will still remain equidistant like this. So I can set the spacing I want manually, or I can set it on automatic. This one is called tracking, and tracking is known, or the same thing as character spacing. It's the same thing as character spacing. So if I click on it, currently it's on -75, so the spacing is tight. If I click on 0, you see this is the normal one. If I click 100, you see that the characters, there are more space between the characters. So I can just set it on 0, which is the default. This is the text height and the text width. I don't recommend changing or altering anything unless you want to create a special effect on your text, but this should remain the same way it is. Currently it's set on all caps. All caps is all capital letters. So if I click it, you see it will go back to sentence case. So only this first one and this one, like, is I can select individual part or highlight individual and just change the properties of those texts. So you can actually highlight individual parts of a text and just change those properties. So if I click OK, if I should click on this all caps, everything changes to capital letters. I can click italics, I can click bold. So the same way we do is just like how we edit on Microsoft Word and other text editing software. We can add the same properties over here, underline, text through, and all of that. That happens on the character panel. So back to what we're doing now. We have our text. So this is our move tool. If I click on the move tool, I can click on this text and move it anywhere I want to. Next, I will draw a shape. I will draw a shape like this and just give it any random feature. Then let's make it green fill with a blue stroke. That is one. Then I will right click, draw an ellipse, another shape. Maybe let's make it light, not light green. Let's make it distinctive color blue with a light green stroke. Then increase the size of the stroke of that one. So I have 3 layers here, which is our text, our rectangle, and our ellipse. Now if you come to your layers panel, we have 4 layers here, which is rectangle, text, ellipse, and the default background which we created with Photoshop. So ellipse, rectangle, text, ellipse, and the background. So these are all different layers. Now if I should click on the hide this eye beside any of these layers, it's going to hide it. If I click on this one beside text, it will hide. Click on the eye beside the ellipse, it is going to hide it. So that is layer visibility. So you can see, you can always hide it and bring it back whenever you want. So that is layer visibility. Now before you can work on any particular layer, you need to select it from the layers panel first. What do I mean? I cannot select this ellipse here, then I'm trying to move the rectangle or change the properties of this rectangle. If I go to my shape tool, the properties are going to be showing me is the properties of the layer that is selected over here. So if I want to work on the rectangle, I have to select the rectangle first, and I'll see the properties of the rectangle there, which I can now change. If I want to work on the text, I have to select the text from here, go to my text tool, and I can now change the properties of the text from there. So you have to select the layer first before you can work on it. The same way, if you want to work with a layer with your move tool, you have to also select it first from the layer, go to your move tool. Now I can move this, welcome to my first design, the text, move it here. I can select the rectangle, move it this side. I can select the ellipse and move it like this. Now apart from moving things around with your move tool, we also do what we call transformation. which is this little dot you see at the edge of this box. And that's why we put on this show transform controls earlier. If you remember from the first setup, remember I said it was off. So now that it's off, you see you cannot see the bounding box of this layer. So you don't know where the layer starts and stop. So we can only just see the layer, we can move it around, but we cannot transform it, we can only move it. But by the time you have your transform controls on, you can see the bounding box of the layer and now you can transform it. Now what are the kind of transformations that are allowed? If I click on the edge, any of these edges here, if I click on it, you see two options are going to come up here. Notice, first it's like this. By the time I click on it, I'm going to have cancel and save. This now is currently in live transformation mode. It means I can transform it now. And how do I transform it? I can either click on any of the edges and resize it, or from the top, from the left side, whichever, or bring my cursor to the edge. You see, when I bring it to the corner like this, you see that it has shown a curved arrow. It means I can rotate it. So I can click, hold and rotate. All this is part of transformation. And whenever I do any transformation, I want to save it, I'll click OK and it has been saved. However, if I want to go back, I'll just press Ctrl Z, and Ctrl Z is the shortcut for undo. So I can click again, do a transformation, but if I don't like it, I can just click cancel and the transformation will cancel. So I will click, can rotate, save. If I don't want that, I can click Ctrl Z, still click it again. So you can even click Ctrl Z multiple times and it will keep going like one step back, like undoing one step backward. If I want to go forward, Ctrl Shift Z, it will continue going forward, Ctrl Shift Z. But if I want to go backward, Ctrl Z. Get. Now apart from the increasing the size and rotating it, there are other transform controls we can do, or transformation operations we can do. Click on the edge. You can now right click after clicking on the edge and you can see different transformation controls here. I can do rotate 180 degrees and it will go upside down. So I can cancel it or just press escape key. Escape key is the same thing as this cancel here. That's ESC key. Press, click again, live transformation mode, rotate 90 degrees clockwise. To go like this, press escape. Click, flip horizontal to turn the other way, press escape, or I can flip vertical. So I can also just click on this, do rotate, and now it's only rotation options I'm going to be seeing, so that whenever I click I can rotate it like this and press escape if I want to go back and cancel that. Not only to the text, even on my rectangle, same thing. Click on the edge, I can resize with my transform controls. I can click on the edge, click, hold and drag, rotate, right click and do flip horizontal, flip vertical, rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. So many options. But if I don't want that, I'll just click cancel, save. The other options like skew. If I click on skew, I can bend it like this. This is what it's called, skewing an object. There are other transformations like distort, where I can change different parts of it like this and all of that. And so basically that is how the transform controls and our move tool works. So we can use our move tool to move things around and also to transform these layers individually. Now, to explain the layers properly, you can see that some of these layers are hiding the other layers, or they are on top of other layers. Now, layers work basically the same way the layers we know in real life works. Take it I have a stack of books. So if on the top, if I arrange 3 books, the one on top is a red book, the one below is a green book, the one last is a blue. So I have red, green, blue. If you're standing and looking from the top, the one you're going to see on top is the red book first. If you remove the red book, you're going to see the green book. If you remove the green book, you're going to see the blue book. The blue book is under, so you cannot see it from the top because the green book and the red book is covering it, unless you push the blue book to the side. So it's almost the same thing when it comes to our layers. So now if I have these layers like this, the first one on top is the rectangle, which is here. Then I put it in the middle. The second layer is our welcome to text. I'll put it here in the middle as well. And the third one is the ellipse. I'll put it here in the middle. So the one on top now, just like the red book, is the rectangle layer. And you can see I can hide it and bring it back. So once I hide it, I can see the next layer, which is what? The welcome to text. If I hide it, then I'll see this one completely. You get? That is how layers work. If I should carry this welcome to text on my layers panel and click and drag it up on top of the rectangle, you see that I can now see it on top of every other layer because now I have put it on top. And it's smaller, so I can see other parts of. It's not as big as this rectangle that was covering everything. So I can still see part of the rectangle because it's smaller. Just like you're putting your pen on top of your book, you can still see the book because the pen is just small on top of the book. The same way, if I click on the ellipse and I click and drag on top, I'll see the ellipse first. If I hide it, then I'll see the text next. If I hide it, then I'll see the rectangle last. So that is how layers work. And as we're designing, we're going to be having multiple layers. That is why it is important for us to understand how these layers work. So there we have it, guys. That is all for today, or for now rather. Like I said, more videos are going to continue coming. So share these videos with others. Remember to hit that subscribe button and like this video. I'm going to be dropping more free tutorials just for you. Remember, I said this channel, one of the main purposes of this channel is to help new designers come along fast in the industry. Also, if you want to learn design under mentorship, I have a design academy called Initium Design Academy. You can check us out on Instagram, where we train you from total beginner to intermediate designer, or from intermediate level to pro level in graphic and brand identity design. So if you want to know more, please hit us up on Instagram or just drop a comment here and I will attend to you. Until next time, bye.